One of America's most powerful billionaires has passed away, leaving behind a fortune worth billions of dollars. His luxury mansion, private jets, and unimaginable wealth now await their rightful heir. His children sit confidently, believing that today they will inherit everything their father built. But as the lawyer slowly opens the final will, no one in the room is prepared for what comes next. These documents hold the ownership of billions in assets, luxury estates, and an empire built over a lifetime. Meanwhile, a poor 22-year-old personal assistant named Michael Carter sits quietly in the back, expecting nothing. In a matter of seconds, smiles turn into shock as the billionaire's family hears the most unexpected announcement of their lives. Michael cannot believe his ears. Why would a billionaire choose him over his own family? Just when everyone demands answers, the billionaire's longtime butler stands up and says, "You have no idea what Michael sacrificed for Mr. Harrison. The truth will change everyone's life forever." New York City, the city of dreams, where millions come searching for success, but only a few ever find it. Among those dreamers was 22-year-old Michael Carter, living in a tiny apartment and struggling to survive. Some days, Michael had to choose between paying his bills and buying his next meal. Despite his hardships, he never stopped caring for the person who mattered most, his mother. Every night, he searched tirelessly for an opportunity that could change his life forever. With nothing but determination in his heart, Michael walked through life's darkest days, refusing to give up. While others enjoyed luxury, Michael remained grateful for even the simplest meal on his table. Then, one ordinary evening, a single email changed everything. An interview invitation from one of America's most powerful billionaires. As he looked at the billionaire's company, Michael never imagined that this opportunity would one day make him the heir to an unimaginable fortune. With hope in his eyes and dreams in his heart, Michael walked out of his apartment, completely unaware that his life was about to change forever. Standing before him was a mansion unlike anything Michael had ever seen, a place reserved for America's wealthiest and most powerful. From elite security guards to luxury vehicles, every detail reminded him that he was stepping into a world far beyond his imagination. Taking a deep breath, Michael walked through the grand entrance, wondering if this single moment would change his future forever. Waiting inside was Richard Harrison, a billionaire whose name commanded respect across the entire business world. The interview had begun, and Michael knew this could be the opportunity of a lifetime, or the biggest disappointment of his life. Richard Harrison was known for one thing above all else: he trusted no one and showed kindness to very few. Against all expectations, Richard saw something special in Michael and offered him the position of his personal assistant. With a simple signature, Michael unknowingly signed the contract that would completely transform his destiny. On his very first day, Michael promised himself that he would give nothing less than his absolute best. As he looked around the magnificent mansion, Michael had no idea that one day this place would become a part of his own incredible story. Day after day, Michael managed every detail of Richard Harrison's busy life with unmatched dedication and professionalism. Long after everyone else had gone home, Michael remained at work, making sure nothing was left unfinished. Every important document that crossed Richard's desk had first passed through Michael's careful hands. Soon, Michael was trusted to accompany one of America's most powerful businessmen in high-level corporate meetings. It wasn't the task itself that mattered. Michael believed that excellence was found in the smallest acts of service. As Richard grew older, Michael was always there to offer his support, not because it was his job, but because he genuinely cared. Without ever asking for recognition, Michael willingly sacrificed his own time to help Richard succeed. Honesty had always been Michael's greatest strength, No amount of money could ever change his values. When others offered him expensive gifts and personal favors, Michael refused them without hesitation. For the first time in many years, Richard Harrison began trusting someone completely. From luxury private jets to international business trips, Michael became Richard's most trusted companion. Michael quietly handled every challenge behind the scenes, allowing Richard to focus on what mattered most. He remembered the little things, his medicines, his schedule, and even the smallest personal preferences. Slowly, the cold and distant billionaire began smiling again whenever Michael was around. Over time, Michael became far more than a personal assistant. He became the family Richard never knew he needed. One doctor's report was all it took to change Richard Harrison's life forever. For the first time in decades, the billionaire realized that money could not buy more time. When Richard needed his family the most, his children were nowhere to be found. The friends who once surrounded him slowly disappeared, leaving nothing but silence behind. His magnificent mansion had everything except the people he loved. Now the man who built a billion-dollar empire lay helpless in a hospital bed. But one person refused to leave his side: Michael Carter. Michael cared for Richard with kindness and compassion, expecting nothing in return. He made sure Richard never missed his medicines, treating him like family rather than an employer. Through countless sleepless nights, Michael remained by his bedside, offering comfort during his darkest moments. Michael sacrificed his own special moments because, to him, loyalty mattered more than convenience. Every night he quietly prayed for Richard's recovery, asking for nothing but another chance for him to smile again. Deep inside, Richard began to realize that genuine loyalty is the greatest treasure anyone could ever possess. Looking at Michael sleeping on an uncomfortable hospital chair, Richard finally understood who truly cared for him. At that moment, the billionaire shed silent tears, not because he was losing his wealth, but because he had finally found a son in someone who shared neither his name nor his blood. That very night, Richard Harrison made a decision that would shock everyone after his death. Under the cover of midnight, his most trusted lawyer arrived carrying confidential documents and a life-changing secret. Every page placed before Richard represented the final chapter of his extraordinary life. Without hesitation, Richard signed the documents that would forever change Michael's destiny. But there was one more thing Richard wanted to leave behind: a heartfelt letter explaining the truth. He carefully sealed his final words inside an envelope, knowing they would one day reveal everything. As he watched Michael quietly caring for him, Richard felt something he had not felt in years: pride. No one knew what Richard had done. Not his children, not his friends, and certainly not Michael himself. For the first time since his illness began, Richard smiled peacefully, knowing his legacy was now in the right hands. In their final conversation together, Richard thanked Michael for his loyalty, while Michael remained completely unaware that he was about to inherit far more than he could ever imagine. As the night grew quieter, Richard Harrison's heartbeat slowly faded, marking the final moments of a remarkable life. Surrounded by peace and gratitude, Richard Harrison took his final breath, knowing he had entrusted his legacy to the right person. By sunrise, news of his passing had spread across America. The world mourned the loss of one of its most influential billionaires. Preparations began for a grand farewell worthy of the man who had built a billion-dollar empire from nothing. One by one, Richard's family members arrived at the mansion, believing they had come to inherit his fortune. None of them knew that everything was about to change forever. Inside Richard Harrison's grand mansion, everyone gathered to witness the final reading of a billionaire's last wishes. His family sat confidently, convinced that today they would inherit everything he had built over a lifetime. As Richard's personal lawyer entered the room, An uneasy silence quickly took over. With trembling hands, he opened the sealed document that would change lives forever. Every eye in the room remained fixed on the lawyer, waiting to hear the name of Richard Harrison's chosen heir. Meanwhile, Michael sat quietly in the back, expecting nothing more than the opportunity to say goodbye to the man he respected. Then came the words that no one could have imagined. I leave my entire estate to Michael Carter. In an instant, shock and disbelief spread across the room. Michael could hardly believe what he had just heard. This was never something he had asked for. Richard's children immediately began arguing, demanding answers and questioning their father's decision. Before anyone could say another word, Richard's longtime butler slowly stood up from his seat. The entire room fell silent as everyone waited to hear what he had to say. When everyone abandoned Mr. Harrison, Michael stayed, the butler said. He gave him something money could never buy: true loyalty. Every sleepless night, every sacrifice, and every act of kindness suddenly made perfect sense. My greatest wealth was never my money, Richard wrote. It was finding someone who cared for me when I had nothing left to offer. Michael did not inherit my fortune. He earned it with his heart. As Michael read Richard's final words, he realized that what he had inherited was far greater than wealth. It was a father's love and trust. Determined to honor Richard's legacy, Michael founded the Richard Harrison Charity Foundation to help those who had been forgotten by society. He dedicated his life to caring for the elderly, giving them the kindness and compassion that Richard once longed for himself. Michael used his inheritance not for luxury, but to save lives and bring hope to people in need. Under Michael's leadership, Richard's company became more than a business. It became a family built on respect and humanity. Though Richard Harrison was gone, his values continued to inspire everyone whose lives he had touched. Standing beside Richard's grave, Michael silently thanked the man who changed his life forever. As the sun set over New York City, Michael reflected on an extraordinary journey that began with nothing but loyalty and kindness. He had inherited billions of dollars, but the greatest gift Richard ever gave him was a purpose worth living for. True inheritance is not wealth. It is loyalty, kindness, and love.